Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the ULoL campus series where we have Kansas University facing off against Kansas State University. As I mentioned earlier, the distinction is crucial because these two universities have a long standing rivalry, and you may find yourself with a few angry messages if you get it wrong. My name is Octavian. I am joined by the illustrious Fekes, and we are underway, albeit not very quickly, into the first few bans here. Both teams taking their time considering their options.
Yeah, and speaking of options, Kansas State has a lot to think about. Um, they are banning out Varus from last game that was played by oh my god, I forgot his name already. I said his name really long. But either way, he's replaced by Hopeless Piggy, who was not in the first game. So it looks like Pasu. It was a Pasu, by the way.
Pasu.
Yeah, Pasu. Thank you. Yeah, Pasu. Looks like he might have been a sub, but Hopeless Piggy is now in. And you have to think Hopeless Piggy, if he is the mainstay of ADC in Kansas University, then we're gonna have a little bit even more synergy here,
Yeah.
which is scary because Pasu was pretty awesome on Varus, but we're still gonna get rid of that one. LeBlanc, Draven, and Kha'Zix also banned out. Interesting to see Draven banned. Dim Boys, I don't think he did. I don't think he did exceptionally poorly or anything of the sort to note. He was definitely a victim of circumstance in that entire game.
I would say that the Draven ban does actually make sense because I think they're recognizing that if Dem Boys had had a better matchup, if it hadn't been the Janna pick, and I'm not really blaming Chilling in particular for the Janna pick, it's kind of the fault of the draft, which blame gets kind of spread out across a whole team for that or onto their coaches if they have any, because the Draven Janna lane just couldn't make use of Draven's power. We saw a moment there in that game that lasted for a few minutes where Dem Boys actually played moderately aggressive in the bottom lane, and it worked out pretty well. They got an early kill. They pushed back and took away the summoners off of Pasu, who, as you mentioned, is now being replaced by Hopeless Piggy for this matchup. So I think the Draven ban takes away one of the last vestiges of power that Kansas State had and just makes this matchup even more difficult for them.
Yeah, but we're going to see a little bit of change up in the pick and ban, though, because we have a Zach being hovered over right now. Jin also locked in for Kansas State. So keeping with that power, but still very immobile in the ADC. Dim Boy is going to have to play on his toes for this one. And on the other side, we do have a Camille locked in who got a little bit of a nerf. It wasn't an extraordinary one, though. But Camille is still relatively powerful. Graves also still a powerful jungler to jungle, and instead of the Zac, we're actually going to get a Nocturne and a Shin in the top lane. At least I'm assuming that's a Shin top lane. That's an interesting pick, Octavian, because Nocturne is another one of those champions where you have to hit level 6, and then you do what you do with your ultimate. You dive in as much as possible. But with Hope maybe picking up the Janna here, that would be a huge cancellation to that Paranoia ultimate, able to just ult him away or even just disrupt everything, considering she doesn't have a tornado to use against Nocturne.
Yeah, and you're right in that the Janna, pick would be really, really strong against Nocturne in particular. But, I don't know. I still don't know if I like it because Dem Boys and Chilling were kind of the most solid piece of the kind of failing puzzle that was Kansas State last time around. So I feel like there needs to be some amount of lane power between Hopeless Piggy and Hope, who have pretty nicely aligning names there. Hopeless Piggy and Hope. Hope is there to help out the Piggy, who is no longer hopeless, and there's something you can do with that.
It's very beautiful.
Some of that you can find in the Caitlyn. There is certainly laning power in that pick, but I don't really like the Janna for trying to hold down a lane like that. And Dem Boys needs to be held down to some degree. I mean, he earned enough respect last game to warrant a Draven ban, and that was in a game where they were losing 29-8 or something along those lines. So if this game works out any differently in that regard, maybe we see Dem Boys step up to the plate a bit.
Yeah, and then I'm interested to see how he's going to perform on the Jhin because, yeah, like I said, he was definitely a victim of circumstance. But over on the side of Kansas University, I would like to see a Zed locked in because Zed is one of my favorite champions to just watch as far as a kit and just whoever can play him to the max. And now Ace, well, if Ace does get the Zed, just switches over to Cassidy. Cassidy's cool too. Zed is a lot more
I
fun though,
I
but yeah,
personally would love to see the Z because then
yeah.
I can make XYZ jokes because of the
Oh, look
jungler.
at you. Look
But
at you.
I really doubt that XY is going to be the one playing the Z, but I would make the joke nonetheless because I force things upon people. A lot of different a lot of different hovers here. I actually like the Syndra into the Corki pick. I'm surprised we don't see that more often. Aurelion Sol would be fine too. Basically anything that can outrange the Corki by some degree while still providing consistent damage. I like the Syndra a little better because she can one-shot the Corki, which provides that sort of really aggressive threat in lane. But Aurelion Sol is just fine as well. And Ace really didn't have many problems navigating the last game. He did come out of it with 2 quadra kills, so I can trust the guy in pretty much anything he grabs.
It is really hard to get a quadra kill on Aurelion Sol though, but that does fill the AP hole that they were having over on Kansas. So I mean, Aurelion Sol, it's an interesting champion. Still, it's he's powerful and he's very mobile as he can fly across the terrain. It's very handy to have, but it also does have a relatively brief stun, but it takes a lot of very clever micro positioning to really get the full effect of Aurelion Sol. I'm anxious to see how Ace plays on this champion, especially against a Corki who can kind of hit you from afar and also dive in and burst you down with it once you get Trinity Force. It's going to be an interesting one. You also have Shin to worry about. He's a teleport, and of course Stand United, able to teleport himself to the bot lane and help out Dim Boys or Chilling. That's going to be a huge factor as well. But the spectator delay is counting down Octavian, which I believe means I think we're going to go give a shout out to our sponsors real quick.
Yeah, we're going to take it away with a short shout out to our sponsors before we go to a commercial break. I would just like to mention that we've got quite a few very nice sponsors, one of them being Band Gaming, an app that you can get for your phone, which allows you to help you herd your friends into some semblance of organization for gaming nights. If you get the app and all of your friends get the app, you can coordinate raid nights in WoW or game nights for League of Legends or various other things. It's a very flexible and quite useful app. On top of that, we are sponsored by the very platform you're watching and listening to us on. Twitch.tv have been exceedingly gracious in sponsoring us for quite a while now, and we continue to be thankful to them. And we want to welcome Asus to the CSL family for the 2016 to 17 season. They're providers of everything esports, all of their wonderful products such as monitors, laptops, routers, graphics cards, motherboards, more than I could really list here without getting past the time allotted to me. Just be sure to pick up Asus gear before your next big event. With that all said, and none of it yet done, we're going to be getting on to the Rift very shortly. Just give us about a minute and a half. I'm going to play a short commercial break with a little bit of music, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. We are into the rift for game number 2 here between Kansas State University on blue side and Kansas University on red. Kansas University, as you can see by our handy-dandy scoreboard there up at the top, are sitting 1-0 ahead in the series after a decidedly quick 20-minute victory in match 1, and have made a very good case for why they are currently sitting at the top of our bracket. In fact, they have been so productive in terms of victories this season that if they do manage to take home the series, they are going to be guaranteeing themselves a playoff spot. But my useful information may have to wait, as we've got a 5-man stack here from Kansas State.
Yeah, it looks like they were going to try to go in and make something happen. I do like the aggressive play from them, as they do need to change it up a little bit, but they were spotted out. And Ace able to drive them back, as he is the Celestial Being, and you do not mess with the Celestial Being unless you have an ultimate nullifier. If any of you are Fantastic Four fans, you know what I'm talking about, but no one here is Mr. Fantastic.
Okay, that's not a reference that I expected to be pulled out during tonight's cast, but you know, the unexpected is not always the unwelcome, and that was rather welcome, I think.
No, it's all good. I'm going to make it no matter if it's welcome or not. It's kind of the person I am, because I too like to force things upon people.
Oh, very nice. I'm in good company here. But indeed, we have to see Kansas State change some things up, that's for sure. It doesn't look like a level 1 is going to be making the difference this match. But if this match is anything like the last one, they're going home 0-2 with nothing to show for. With nothing to show for their performance here.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you have experience to always gain. Let's never count that out. And of course, we're seeing the damage that Ace can do. Check that out, able to completely get into the face of Masklink. Now, Masklink, as Corky, if you go into Aurelion Soul, you actually dodge a lot of his damage, but you have to be able to commit yourself to go into him, and Ace knows that. And every time that Masklink backed up, that was damage he was neglecting to dish out to Ace, while Ace was able to keep up with him and keep dishing that damage. And we're going to see it again possibly here. He's getting close to the turret, but every time he turns around, he's losing out on damage. But I think he was able to just go straight into the face of Ace. It might actually make Ace think a little bit better of the situation. But right now, he knows he can take advantage of that, so he's doing it.
Yeah, the thing you've got to consider, though, is the fact that Ace, even with all of his corrupting blood, all of his corrupting pot stacks used up, he's still running himself low on mana. And that's because Celestial Expansion has such a high mana cost if you do want to keep these trades going. And here's the King in the early gank in the mid lane. As Ace flashes away, the Ghost running, but there's the flash forward from the King, and the Frog off the Fear will be enough. The Tether usually doesn't claim the kill, but Nocturne getting first blood is a really, really good change of pace and change of form for the side of Kansas State. But here's Chenny from the top lane.
Yeah. This is a nice roam from Chenny trying to pick up something. Hold on.
XY dropping the end of the line, but Masklink is going to Valk right over it. He's all right.
And then it's worth noting here that Ace actually went up to XY, but XY was taking the red buff, and he was not leaving that red buff. Had he moved down to help out Ace, they may have been able to dodge first blood, possibly even pick one up for themselves. But XY was very committed to that red buff and decided to not. He tried attack moving it over toward Ace, but at the same time, you still have to use that animation to attack moves. So it wasn't fully dedicated to helping out Ace, and yeah, first blood going over to Kansas State, and that's a way better start than they had last game.
True, in that the first blood does go over to the King, but you've also got to consider the fact that King did commit hard to that early strategy. He showed up to the mid lane without clearing almost any of his jungle, and in fact lost some of it thereafter to XY invading, as he knew the Nocturne would not be there to stop him. So still actually about even in gold between these two junglers, and a little bit ahead to XY, as he's just about 100 over King, which is rather disheartening when you do go for that early strategy. You get the first blood and you still don't come out too far ahead.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's still a good start for the King, but yeah, he's still over half under the CS of XY. And this is also...
He's not behind, but he also isn't ahead. And that is better than last game, where he was decidedly behind by a huge margin. But we're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, and it's actually... so let's point out the items in the mid lane. Ace picked up boots. knowing that Mask Link having gotten that assist, had a little bit of extra money, would have gotten boots on his back as well.
Oh.
That's really...
Hopeless Piggy nearly claiming the kill there. Not actually firing off the auto, but Demboy's still burning the heal to stay alive through what could have been a headshot coming his way. And
yeah,
it's just going to be summoners.
Yeah, very close, but Summoner is still a very good advantage to have in the bot lane. But, okay, so now we're checking out the boot advantage. Had Ace not gotten the boots, and Ace and Mask Link did, he wouldn't have been able to keep up with his celestial orbs there. But since he can match his speed, he's able to keep up with them and dish out even more damage every time he has the celestial expansion on. So, very nice pickup by Ace, reading Mask Link, knowing he's going to pick up boots on that first back, knowing that he had enough gold to do so, and able to keep up with him in that. And that is really huge, but a lot of aggression in the top lane. Chinny, very nicely played there.
Yeah, good shadow dash to get out of Chenny's hook shot across over. And Ace is actually going to get turned back around on here. Mask Link getting stunned even through the Valkyrie, but he did manage to queue up that W, so he's out of there nonetheless, though Ace didn't really have any intentions of continuing the fight either. And I think, in fact, we could have seen Mask Link Valk forward there, and I think he would have been just fine. He's got the exhaust in the matchup.
Yeah,
he's going the aggressive summon.
He's paying so much respect to Ace that he's actually hindering himself. I feel like he could be dishing out a lot more damage to Ace, but he's just playing it so safe that he's keeping up in CS, yeah, but he could have had a kill by himself. I feel like he could have soloed or at least gotten a summoner out of Ace by now, especially since Ace doesn't have a flash. He only has the ghost right now, and exhaust will actually slow down that ghost. Let's keep that in mind too. Not to mention keeping them up with Valkyrie. We're going to see a gank in the mid lane here.
Yeah, Voice of Light dropped, but that's about all that's going to connect, as Mask Link simply needs to Valk away. Meanwhile, bottom lane though, Demboy's left all by his lonesome, is going to take a lot of pain on the way out. Doesn't quite go down, but nonetheless still gets chased out of the lane. XY's vision onto the King will allow him to play relatively safely here in the mid lane. I imagine he'd become much more aggressive at Mask Link if he didn't know that Nocturne was there, so that's paying dividends.
So look at what Chinny's doing right now. He's actually placing a ward over in the blue buff, or the King's blue buff. They had that timed out. It wasn't up yet. They knew it was going to be, so they placed a ward, and knowing that the King went down bot lane after that, well, actually, he said they had vision because of the other ward placed at the red buff, knows that he's down there. That's going to allow XY to steal a buff away from the King. This is the great counter jungle and just mindset of XY and Kansas University. They're doing such a great job counter jungling the King, even on a Nocturne, who I would say is a more aggressive jungler than a Vi, but still keeping him down.
Yeah, to some degree. The Vi is certainly not a slouch in the early game herself.
No, not at all.
XY has just been kind of farming up a storm this game, and even with that first blood deficit, as I said earlier, he's holding perfectly, even if not a little bit ahead in terms of gold, which is impressive in its own right. One thing that I did want to mention though, we saw there a very little brief trade in the top lane between Neil and Chenny, and something demonstrated that I think is really interesting. A lot of people may be facing Camille's of their own in solo queue when she's not banned out, which is almost always, but sometimes she makes it through, as we see Mask Link and Ace have a little bit of a spat. But this Shen pick is actually really interesting because of his ability to dodge auto attacks, and I imagine Jax to some extent as well, because so much of Camille's damage comes from precision protocol. Inside of that dodge field, Neil can simply just avoid entirely the precision protocol damage, but that, at my point, is kind of nullified as we got action in the mid lane, and Neil gonna get interrupted out of his stand united.
Oh my gosh, so just really good plays by Kansas University right now. They were able to, so whenever Nocturne went in to try to pick up the kill onto Ace, he was under the tower, he knew he was going to die, but Ace with the Voice of Light, able to shut him out. Such a nice play. We have action in the bot lane.
Oh, dem boys, those cupcakes are placed so aggressively. Having to walk around the cupcake and not step on it. Of course, stepping on it there would have forfeited his life to a headshot, meant that he got hit by a Piltover and he had to burn the heal. Really, really good Caitlyn play. Not particularly flashy Caitlyn play, but with that champion, that's perfectly fine.
No, she still definitely has flash.
Sure, at moments she does, but you've got to appreciate the less flashy play as well. It may not be a play, but it's good play, if my meaning is not obscured there by the language.
No, you totally got it on that one. But as we were talking about that, though, the first dragon did go down, and once again going over to Kansas University. Kansas State, they have not been able to pick up a dragon in this entire series yet, and they've all been Infernos. 4 dragons out of 2 different series, 2 different games. All 4 of them have been Infernos, and they've all went to Kansas University. And that's I don't know what the RNG is doing, but they are favoring heavily to the Infernos right now. Which, by the way, the next dragon is Inferno. That's 5 dragons in a row. It's been Inferno.
Oh, there's the ulti from Chenny as Neil is trapped inside this ring of almost certain death. The tactical sweep doesn't land. It's flashed away from, but ult traded for a summoner is a perfectly fine deal for the Camille.
Yeah, Camille likes deals. So yeah, Camille. Still powerful even with the nerf a little bit to her. I mean, it wasn't a huge nerf either. It was barely to her numbers, but mostly to the stun power that she can put out. But then you have to actually hit the enemy instead of you're just around it. So we're gonna see. It's not really affecting him too much, and they're placing wards once again into the blue jungle, the blue buff jungle of the king. So very nice information gathering. Actually, it looks like they do have a vision ward over there on the side, or a control ward they're called now, over on the side of Kansas State. So they're going to be able to spot that one out, trying to learn from their mistakes, seeing that their blue buff was taken earlier. Not going to try to not let it happen again, but it looks like XY may be going down there to clear that one out before the king can clear out the ward of his own. Or he might just gank under tower. Who knows, dear Octane?
He is sat in vision, though, inside that tri-bush. There's a regular ward spotting him out. There's Masklink diving forwards, flashing forwards. In fact, as the exhaust comes down, and Masklink gets himself the 1v1. And it's exactly what we wanted to see out of this guy. Maybe not the kill to the bottom lane right thereafter. It is a little unfortunate that they were roaming up right at that moment. But that sort of aggression, I think, has been warranted for most of the game. And we're just now seeing Masklink start it off.
Yeah, that was a very nice play by Masklink. Yeah, that's something he should have been doing this entire time, but it was, you know, it is at 12 minutes. He should have been doing that at least 2 or 3 more times beforehand. But we have a Stand Uniter coming in.
Yeah, the chain's broken, though, as XY manages to dash away with a little bit of creative use of the flash and the quick draw. And they're going to get some great damage now into the mid lane turret, as Chilling only just barely survives a very aggressive dive.
Yeah, 2 turrets picked up for Kansas University. Actually, that's 3 as they were able to pick out the top of the bot lane turret earlier as well.
Has no mana here.
Oh,
if he can get to the blast cone, he may be safe. And toss himself over the wall, perhaps. Waiting there until... Oh, I was about to commend him. He waited until Ace was on the blast cone as well, so he'd create maximum distance. But Hopeless Piggy pointed and clicked at him.
Ace played a very different style this game compared to last game's Katarina. And he knows his place. He knows he's not going to be a massive carry, but we have a fight here.
Hopeless Piggy is caught off from the rest of his team as they invade deep into the enemy jungle. He's going to be cut off as well, as Hope flashes over the wall to try and survive here. There's Ace coming from the side, does land a stun. This is a double kill to the Corki. XY now turning back around the end of the line, trying to land that onto the Shen, now trying to land some good damage on the Chilling. They just can't finish him off. Finally, Dark Binding does the deed, and it's a triple kill for Corki. Kansas State fight back.
And that's shades of what happened last game, except it was Kansas University that did it on Ace. This time, Masklink on Corki, getting the triple kill. That's exactly what this team needs. They need not only the kills, but they need the morale boost. They're actually still down in gold because of all the turrets and the turrets that have went down. Not to mention the farm differential here, but the morale boost is exactly what Kansas State needs to to keep themselves in this game. And I do want to correct myself earlier. I actually said that the hook shot, you have to hit the enemy to get the stun now. No, that was the attack speed, my bad. But they did nerf the stun from 1 second to, I believe it was 0.75 seconds. So still a nerf to Camille, but it's not a huge thing to her.
They decided maybe support Camille isn't where she belongs, so they took a little bit of utility out of her kit. But she's still quite a powerful champion, and I think deserves her spot towards the top of the ban list. Flash away from Chilling, though, as Ace was tossing everything and the Galaxy Sync at him.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah,
I don't think Kitchen Sync applies.
I was about to say that's the advantage of being a Celestial Being, but we have a fight in the top lane. That's the advantage of being a Camille.
Fight is a generous term.
Yeah, well, I thought it might have ulted. I thought she was going to throw down the big prism there. I decided not to. So you know what? That's why I'm not play-by-play tonight. Well, of course, that would be an analytical thing to call, and I got that wrong too. So let's just call that a loss for me. But the Dragon is going to be up pretty soon, 45 seconds, and that means that...
Oh, this could be a really nice catch for Chenny, but he's not going to commit any harder than he needs to. In fact, committing a little too hard at the start of the fight. He's going to find a few bullets coming his way, as well as an unnamed Demon of the Night, who will eventually claim the kill.
And then Demon of the Night does have 2 kills, and is now 2-1-3 right now. But with the focus on the top lane is actually neglecting vision control around the Dragon. And this is what you need to focus right now, especially when it's an Infernal Drake and your enemy already has one. Kansas State, they need to focus on this Dragon. They have no vision now, and it looks like they are going to get quite a bit of the turret damage, turret chunked in the bot lane as well. But let's keep in mind, Paranoia is still up. It wasn't used in the top lane. Stand United is up as well. The only thing that was used as far as an ultimate
and
was
the
curtain call.
The package as well is on.
Oh yeah, the
on
package
Mask Link. And Mask Link is super powerful right now. He's hit that power spike of the Trinity Force, not to mention Sword Shoes as well. But you know, as we get hyped for that, the package does time out, so he's going to burn it just across the river there. Makes a little bit of a gate of fire in front of the Dragon Pit, but it will time out as this fight begins. Here's the stun, not quite landing on a Mass Link, as Chenny is looking to dive to the back lines, but a little bit too squishy and bites off more than he can chew. XY is going to find himself a kill, though, as he gets chased away from the fight. Just one more auto will brings that Graves down, but speaking of one more auto, that's all that Hopeless needs now as he's chasing away member after member of Kansas State. This is a disaster. They had such a good start to this fight. They chased off the Graves, nearly got that kill. They managed to bring down Chenny with almost nothing invested. But Hopeless Piggy took the team on his back. Hope as well kept him safe the whole time. And Kansas University are just so hard to keep down.
Yeah, and that should have been a fight for Kansas State. Chenny dove, he teleported in, then dove and got almost nothing out of that. His ultimate wasn't even up, so the full power of Camille was not even in that fight. But the great positioning by Hopeless Piggy and Hope together, keeping themselves alive, was phenomenal. Ace also chasing down, not to mention using the Celestial Expanse to take out the spell shield of the King and allow Ace in the hole to get through. Did a huge amount of damage, pretty much cinching his death as well. That was fantastic positioning by Kansas University, and that's another reason why they're showing that they're undefeated in this division right now, and why it looks like they may stay undefeated. It was 8 kills to I think 4 before. Now it's 8-7, and they're 4K up right now. Man, they have now they have 2 Infernal Drakes. The second one is the third dragon, I should say, is finally not going to be an Infernal. It's going to be a Cloud Drake. That's going to be a little bit less. I would assume less effective for Kansas University, but they still want to keep everything away from Kansas State, because Kansas State, they've showed signs of life in this game, but it's just not enough. Kansas University, they're just too powerful, too strong, and well too coordinated.
Yeah, and that is the mark of a team that really are at the top of the game. But Chenny trying to hookshot his way out of trouble here is going to just about make it. Broke those nightmarish bonds. And we'll see whether or not they can collapse in onto XY, as Dem Boys does not fancy this 1v1, but if he can buy a little bit of time, the rest of the team can show up. But there's not nearly enough time to be bought.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He popped everything in that and just destroyed him.
That was a really smooth combo as well by XY.
Yeah.
You can actually squeeze out Graves' damage just that little bit faster if you interrupt animations with Quick Draw, which is exactly what we saw XY do there. I believe he interrupted his ulti animation as he dashed forward.
And I'm sorry, I'm being corrected in the chat. It is University of Kansas, which I actually was calling it earlier, but for some reason I started calling it Kansas University. Sorry about that, but it is University of Kansas. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Is the shove down the mid lane. Whichever word goes first, these players are still decidedly trying to go first themselves. It sort of worked. Sort of.
By the way, they don't call it UK for University of Kansas because University of Kentucky already has that right. So we'll throw that one out there.
Ultimatum onto Neil, going to trap him here in an unfavorable position, but the rest of the team is going to focus down onto that turret as University of Kansas grabbed themselves another turret to throw onto the pile of rubble that they are quickly turning Kansas State's base into.
Yeah, they're doing a great job controlling every objective at every moment in this game. Right by this time last game, though, Kansas State were about to surrender. Actually, in about 15 seconds, they would have surrendered this time last game. But they are a little bit. I mean, as far as kills, it looks even, but you know, it's not. They are 7K down. They only have one turret, which is one more than they had last game, but it is still not enough to really bring their team forward here.
Yeah.
So they're trying to hold on here.
Not every game is going to be that sort of crushing masterpiece, you know? The mark of a good team is consistency. And sometimes that consistency is going to manifest its... We got a bit of a fight here, perhaps? As Demboys gets caught out. It may be generous to call this a fight. Kansas State is being chased off. Nice sidestep there, indeed, from Chenny. As Ace is getting dove on here. He could be caught out, but they just don't want to commit to this fight. They've got too many angles to defend here. Chenny is going to go down. That's a good start, but the collateral damage comes through, and there is just so much damage coming out of University of Kansas right now. It's a double kill for the Caitlyn. And whatever point I was pontificating on earlier is going to have to wait, because this match is possibly over rather shortly.
Yeah, they're gotta get the Nexus towers down. Pretty soon they're gonna be open. Ace, they can't even take Ace down. They're trying so hard.
There's a Janna there, though, to keep him alive. Oh, that is so disheartening, but there's the curtain call. One landing onto XY. The Deathfire touch is burning. It's gonna be enough. Shut down onto the Graves. Traded for Morgana's life. Worth it, I suppose, but there's really not much that they can do to come back into this one.
No, and they just busted the mid lane inhibitor down, so that is going to be a huge amount of pressure going against Kansas State.
Ace, please be reasonable. Yeah. Ace, please.
He's not.
No. You're not a team. You can't stay there yourself.
No.
He does go down.
He was dead. Yeah, he knew he was dead. He could have. I don't know if he had. What is it? His Comet Legend. I don't think he actually. No, it wasn't up. He's actually still on cooldown, so he wasn't able to get out of there. He had no summoners either. I think he used the flash at the end there, trying to get out. But this is gonna be this might be a Baron going over to Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean they know this is happening. There was vision cleared out on the way here. So Kansas State is on a clock right now. They've only got so much time to take this down, and their time is running out. There's a teleport coming in. They're being flanked now from the right. The Baron is nearly dead. It is secured. Well, that is a Baron take for Kansas State. Hope is going to get caught out. That's a beautiful start.
Hopeless Piggy. He has no more hope, but can he still stay alive here?
Some good nettling damage from the Caitlyn on the way out, but that's a kill and a Baron just out of nowhere for Kansas State.
And that is really good for Kansas State. That is a very wise play. They got the Baron. They left immediately. They know they still cannot fight.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, they still cannot fight University of Kansas. They know this is an offensive Baron. All they need this for is to empower the minions that's going out of their base to fight the super minions that are pouring in as well. So this is such a great play by Kansas State. They not only got the gold, but they got the experience, and they took that objective pressure off of the map as well. So that is, I mean, it's like patching a large wound, but I mean, a few more patches and the bleeding is going to slow down quite a bit. So see if they can keep up here. The Dragon, meanwhile, is going over. Hold on, there's a fight.
I don't think Ace is really the target they want to be focusing in on. They're going to get this kill, but it could come at something of a cost. There's a redemption coming down. The Janna is there off on the side, keeping the rest of the team alive. Meanwhile, though, XY is cut off, and this is the target they need to bring down on the side of Kansas State. Demboys is going to get a little bit of target practice as he fires off 1 shot and 2 shot, but does not want to commit to 3 and 4. And Hopeless Piggy just has to auto his way to victory against Mask Link. There's the Hextech ultimatum from Chenny, as it actually got spell shielded off by the Nocturne. Neil's going to go down, though. And once again, Hopeless Piggy is just quietly carrying his team through a team fight.
That spell shield was clutch. I don't even know that's how the mechanic works. So
it does. It cancels it out.
It cancels out the whole entire arena.
It depends on the kind of spell shield. Actually, it may come into play in this particular match. Morgana spell shield doesn't do that, but a bubble spell shield, I guess, for lack of a better word, something like Sivir or Nocturne spell shield will actually just cancel out the ultimate.
An entire ability canceling spell shield.
Yes, as opposed to just a spell immunity effect like Morgana spell shield or Malzahar passive.
Right. Yeah. Very impressive. That was a. I haven't seen that mechanic yet. We don't get to see Camille too often. It's usually banned, but this time to get through. I'm really excited to see that because the more you know, knowledge is power here. Hopeless Piggy, very nice shot, but still getting stopped in the tracks there. So Baron is still on the side of Kansas State. Only a few members left, but they still have it. They can still defend this turret in the bot lane that is being pressured here.
And University of Kansas does have a lot of breathing room. They're quite far ahead. They've got a lot of control. They've been playing rather coordinated. But there's only so much they can give up before things start to become a little worrying. And Baron is pretty high up there on the list, as well as a really messy fight. They came out, I think, 1 kill ahead, if not even. But with the amount of control they have on the map and how well they did in Game 1, that is quite an improvement for Kansas State. We'll just have to see whether or not it's enough, because they really only do have this final chance here. They're 1-0 down in a best of 3.
Yeah, the Baron is almost up right now. Looks like Chilling and the King still have it, but it is almost down. In fact, it should only be about another 20 seconds or so, 25 maybe. But so much pressure in the bot lane coming from University of Kansas right now.
Yeah, the siege is pretty good with Caitlyn. As well as even really insulting Jana to some degree, but it's tough to actually get a sizable push onto this inhibitor turret. They haven't really managed it yet, but Chilling makes quite a punch there. King diving to the back lines. He's got the Shen shield, but even with that down, unable to spell shield the ultimatum that time, he will be melted. Tactical sweep. Chenny gets himself a double kill. Diving to the back of the fight now to keep it going. He gets exhausted and backs out, but Hopeless is going to go down. Oh! That's a double kill back for Dem Boys as the bouncing grenade bounces on through for quite an impactful finish. Another really messy fight, and Kansas State stick in this game.
And every time Kansas State win that little skirmish, they technically won that. They lost 2 and took 2, but their turret stands. And the more they fight, the longer this game goes on, the more even it does get, does become in these fights. They get gold, they can go back, buy items, wait for the waves to push into their base, and just farm up even more. So every little skirmish like that is actually, it's helping out Kansas State. We do have a DC, and that prompts a pause.
All right, well, we'll get through the pause as quickly as we possibly can, folks, but it does give us a little bit of breathing room to evaluate where we are in this game. And I would just like to say that I'm much more impressed with how Kansas State University have been sort of enacting a game plan this game. We've seen it throughout the whole match. That first blood for the King, a lot of these team fights where we're seeing the King and Neil dive to the backline as a sort of diving duo, it doesn't work out every single time. As you can see, they're 6k gold back. They still have very little control of the map comparatively to Kansas University, or University of Kansas, pardon me, but they have a game plan. They're doing something, which is honestly more than can be said of Game 1. So I like to see more life in this team, and it's certainly a much more entertaining and exciting match than a 20-minute surrender was.
No, that's a definite. I mean, any of these sort of sieges. I mean, it seems like University of Kansas, they have a gun loaded, they just can't pull the trigger. In Kansas State, they are doing a great job defending what they have, and their mid inhibitor is up now as well, so that's going to be an even more advantage for them. So yeah, they're holding on. This is it is extremely entertaining to watch. The thing is that Kansas State, they can't leave their base. If they do, they will be picked off and they will die. So they have to wait for waves to go into their base. They have to wait for University of Kansas to start sieging. This is, like I said, it's problematic because now they don't have access to any of their buffs, and they certainly don't have access to the dragons that's going to be coming up. Actually, the next one coming up in 1:50, and it is an Infernal Drake. So this is the 3rd Infernal Drake in this game, and it will more than likely go over to University of Kansas, which is going to be a really, really, just a huge power spike. It's almost, at this point in the game, that's like getting an extra item for every champion.
Yeah, especially considering their roster is very damage heavy. They've got a carry, top laner, jungler, mid, and AD carry. So they've really got just about as much damage as you can reasonably squeeze into a comp. Maybe if they had like a brand support or something is the only way that dragon could be any better for them.
Right.
But, the King up in the top lane looking to chase off Chenny. They can land this sphere. They could very well have a kill in their hands. Chenny's a little tanky at this point, but he's going to get bound up by that Deadly Flourish. Nicely placed by Dem Boys, and that is a pick for the side of Kansas State University.
Yeah, I mean, the pick is a pick, and I mean, there is a teleport up for Chinny, but he still has a 40-second death timer on him, and this is the point in the game where you cannot do careless moves like that. You cannot push up top lane without warding. There are no red wards on the side of the top side of the blue jungle right now, the blue team's jungle. Chinny he has one down in the pixel brush, but that's it. Cannot afford to push out that far, that hard right now, and that is going to be 10 seconds still until he comes up. So
some much needed global.
Hold on.
Down. XY dashing over the wall is going to bring King with him, but King has a friend of his own. There's going to be Shen arriving to the fight. Taunt onto XY, but Ace is starting to power up, and that celestial powerhouse is in the war. Morgana did a great job of dodging away from those spinning stars for as long as possible, but it is a triple over to our friendly dragon from space. Demboys is going to claim the kill with a shutdown, actually going into the bullet time here. 1, 2, 3 fly out. There's the 4th landing onto the Janna, but I don't think the 1v5 pans out very well for him in the end. And Kansas State University, really all they needed was that one fatal error. We'll see what it loses them.
University was going to lose them the Infernal Drake, that's for sure. Baron is up in 7 seconds, and I believe all 3 of them with the lifesteal. Actually, none of them have lifesteal. Never mind. I don't know if they really can Baron. They're going to go for it, though. They're going to try. They have a lot of damage. This is a lot. There's the 3 main damage dealers on their team right now. I mean, I say that, and Ace got a triple kill last game, but...
I was about to say, no love for the Dragon, but there's a teleport onto the ward. They can't finish it off. This is really dangerous. There's the trap onto Neil. Dash over the wall. Neil may have bitten off more than he can shoot here, and the line comes down. There's the collateral damage, and Hopeless Piggy finishes it off with one last nettling Caitlyn auto. Baron is held off,
stopped
though.
it. You guys stopped the Baron, so mission accomplished, I suppose. Teleport's down now. And that is going to stop any sort of split pushing that they might have wanted to do. And more importantly, though, that's going to keep I Am Neil from being able to help out his team if Chinny decides to actually go keep split pushing. Well, there is Baron. Of course, there is wards going around the Baron, but if Chinny wants to keep split pushing, that means I Am Neil has to focus that lane or just try to 4v5 a team fight. But that means that Chinny will take turrets as well. So it's a very sticky situation taking that teleport, I Am Neil. But like I said, the Baron is stopped, but it might actually just be delayed because they are going back over there. University of Kansas, they're clearing out wards. It's not going to take them long to recuperate here. They still have the Rift Scuttler there in order to keep themselves some vision here. It looks like... Hold on, yeah, it looks like Chinny... Chinny is still split pushing, by the way.
This is very much the right call from University of Kansas because they still do have a lot of the staying power in this game. They've still got that map control. It's 2-7 in turrets. That is not nothing right there. Ace could be cut out of position here, though. There's the binding. He's gone.
No.
I think they were looking for a pit sort of around that Raptor camp and didn't realize that KSU were standing in the lane right there. There's the Jhin ulti. We'll see exactly where that's firing here as one bolt's going to land onto Chenny. Back to directed camera as the King takes us into the back of this fight. Neil looking for a shadow dash, but he's just going to have to use it defensively as his way in almost instantly perished. Mashlink going to fall as well, and this is Kansas State University going a little too aggressive, not realizing they were still behind by a fair degree. Oh, that boy's doing some good damage, though.
Oh, he's powerful.
He is indeed, but so is Hopeless Piggy. Yeah. There's a flash forward. Red buff is burning. Ace in the hole comes down. That's a double kill for Caitlyn.
That does it. Yep. University of Kansas, they're going to take this game. I really like the idea of Paranoia Stand United, but it's just not working out because the King has to get into the middle of 4 massive damage dealers before Shin even gets there. So congratulations to University of Kansas. They actually clinch a playoff spot now in their division.
All right, and that's gonna be the final match of the night here. As you say, Kansas University go on to a playoff spot after taking a 2-0 easy sweep. It seemed for them, at least, in this match. Easy, at least in the first game, as they had that first 20-minute victory, but the second game, not so much. Kansas State University certainly had a bit of bite left, but it just wasn't nearly enough. They needed to turn on that compositional play earlier. They needed to have a better game plan going into the first match. But bygones be bygones. Hopefully, they can learn from that and move forward into the bracket with a bit more knowledge and experience under their belts. That's going to be it for us tonight, though. My name is Octavian. I've been joined by Fekes. If you've enjoyed either of our casting, you can find our Twitters on the screen now, or if they're not on the screen now, then you can find them below or in the chat. We'll have them there for you. Don't worry. We are, of course, sponsored by some absolutely wonderful sponsors, and I'm going to take this moment here to shout them out. Band Gaming is a app for your phone and the primary social app of the CSL. It's got features such as creating groups, which can be good for your CSL team or club, boards, calendar functions, polls, chats, more things really than I can count, and all of them quite useful. As well as that, we are sponsored by Twitch.tv, a service you should be familiar with if you're watching this stream, and Asus, creators and purveyors of all things esports: monitors, laptops, routers, graphics cards, everything you could possibly need to build your monster rig. As I said, my name is Octavian. I am joined by Fekes, and that's going to be it for the CSL tonight. Signing out. Hope you all enjoyed.